All right, let's get to the NFL. The Steelers and Russell Wilson continue to defy the odds, beating Lamar Jackson and the Ravens Sunday, sitting atop what should have been the best division in football at 8-2. Tonight, they take on a divisional foe, the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh has struggled in division matchups on Thursdays, going 2-6 under Tomlin with 5 straight losses, including 2 to the Browns. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, my goodness, never count this team out. It is unbelievable. All right, hi guys.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, Dan.
Good morning.
How we doing, guys?
I've never been better.
The suit's fantastic, Dan.
I'm good.
Thank you so much.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Good.
My wife picked it out.
Shout to Tiff.
Shout to Tiff.
Steven hasn't said anything about how I look today, but it's fine.
Look nice.
You look beautiful, Kimberly.
Oh, force.
Right?
No,
I got Dan
you know what I'm
treatment just
saying?
now.
I mean, when I compliment, I don't think it's appreciated enough. So maybe I don't need to do that.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, now that all these pleasantries are out of the way, let's get to the topic at hand. Stephen A., I'll start with you. This is your team, so try to be unbiased here. But do you feel like Pittsburgh is a top 3 team in the AFC?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to say yes
Okay.
at this particular moment in time. I'm aware of their red zone deficiencies, but I think that their defense is elite. And I think that when Warren is in the lineup with Najee Harris, it changes them. They're undefeated when he's on the field with them. They're 0-2 when he's been out this season. They could use an additional wideout, but in the end, when I think about what they've been since Russell Wilson has gotten into the lineup in terms of the points per game they scored, regardless of what transpired this past weekend against the Ravens with 6 field goals, and you look at how elite their defense is, I have to say that right now at this particular moment in time, I've got them as the top 3.
Okay.
That's tough because I was at that Steelers-Ravens game. So saw obviously the Steelers beat the Ravens. Lamar Jackson now 1-4 against them. Here's the thing. If these two teams are going to play each other 5 or 10 times in a row,
Okay.
are you picking the Steelers each time against the Ravens?
No.
So to me, I understand they just beat the Ravens, but when I look at the AFC teams, to me, Chiefs, Bills, I would put Steelers at like the 4th best team, and I would still put the Ravens. To me, the red zone deficiency. I know you're aware of that, Stephen. You mentioned it, but I watched this Steelers team face the Ravens, a division rival, and not get in the end zone. 0 touchdowns. Like that to me, we talk about the top teams.
Yeah.
You just can't, like, you can't score enough, and that's the issue for
Real
me.
quick, before, if you're saying 4th, so we're going Chiefs, Ravens,
I would put Bills, Chiefs,
Chiefs, Ravens, and then Steelers. Okay.
Steelers.
Yeah, I don't have them as a top 3 team. I have them as 4 as well. I would go Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens. I don't think the Steelers beat them last week. I'm not minimizing. I'm giving them the credit. The defense is elite. Yep. I think the Ravens beat the Ravens last week. 12 penalties. They had 3 turnovers. Their kicker was 1 for 3 on field goals. I don't think that's the Ravens. I don't think that's kind of who they've been all season. They were historically great going into the game. I think Pittsburgh, yes, again, the move to Russell Wilson's the right move. Right now, statistically, Russell's the worst red zone quarterback in the NFL. You're not going to win the Super Bowl performing that way, okay? So does that have to get better? Yes. Can it get better? Of course. Does it get better with a Justin Fields package in the red zone? I think that's probably one of the answers. That's the one area that the move to Russell hasn't paid off for Mike Tomlin. Everywhere else, it has paid off. I think the second thing is this. We went into the whole situation talking about the sacks and Russell holding on to the football. Last 3 weeks, 11 sacks. That's the 3rd most in the NFL, behind like Caleb Williams. Okay, so does that start to rear its head?
You're putting that on him or the line?
It's him. More often than not, okay? That's more often than not him. And I think what you've started to see teams, and Baltimore did it, was they're taking away as many opportunities with those deep balls as we've seen to George Pickens. So they're just playing off of George, and they're double teaming him when he's in the slot. And so I want to see the counters for Pittsburgh. We were talking about this in the last 20 Super Bowls, okay? That means 40 participants in the Super Bowl, multiple teams or teams going multiple times. There's been 3 teams that have had worse red zone offenses than the Steelers out of 40. That's the 2006 Bears, the 2010 Steelers, actually, and the 15 Broncos.
Yeah.
So it's just my job is to figure out the whys or things that won't happen. The Steelers are a very good football team. If they don't get to the AFC title game, or what might not make them a legit Super Bowl contenders, you are not going to beat Lamar. You're not going to beat Josh Allen. You're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes kicking field goals.
Right.
That might be fair. And you said it's your job to figure out why they may not have you know, they may not get as far as you expected them to.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. It's also your job to highlight the outcome. They did win without scoring touchdowns. That did happen.
Right.
Because their defense is that elite.
Right.
We've seen a Baltimore Ravens squad win a Super Bowl with a less than elite offense. Okay, we have seen that happen before. We saw Peyton Manning in his last year barely able to throw the damn football.
That's one of the three teams.
That's one of the 3 teams. So in other words, I understand it's not normal. It would be an aberration, but it's not like there's no precedent that it has happened. So I'm saying to you, you look at the Steelers' defense and how elite they are, how opportunistic they can be.
Yes, sir.
You look at the fact that the Steelers, even though they just kicked 6 field goals and couldn't get in the end zone prior to that, were averaging 30 points a game with Russell Wilson,
yes,
despite their red zone offense being what it is. You see my point about Warren being on the field with Najee Harris in the backfield,
yes,
and
sir.
how they're running for nearly 160 yards a game with those two brothers out there.
Yep.
I mean, those are things that could make you qualified to be a top 3 team in the conference. Which is what the question was.
Yes, but this would be my pushback to that, Stephen A. Respectfully, give me the thing that this offense does well, outside of the deep ball to George.
Exactly.
No, I can't.
So how is it?
I could say running because they are running 160 yards a game. I could say that.
But Dan, you were saying really quick, if they don't get where they need to be, meaning the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Right.
like a Super Bowl or an AFC,
Sure.
they were never supposed to get there. So
Well,
no
I mean,
one was ever predicting that. So you could even what you're saying, kicking field goals, they're exceeding expectations.
There's no question
especially in this
about
division,
that.
whereas the Ravens are underperforming.
I don't think the Ravens are underperforming at all.
Dan,
Oh,
people
Molly,
have the Ravens going to the Super Bowl. People don't even.
Hold on. They got 4 losses to the 2 last place teams. You're going to sit up there with a straight face. They got 2 losses to 2 last place teams, and then they got a 3rd loss to a team that couldn't even get in the end zone and kick 6 field goals. You're going to sit up there and say, you don't think?
Dan, I picked them to go win the Super Bowl.
Come on, man.
Win.
I'm not saying they can't make it.
The Steelers, I got to jump off when you say the Ravens aren't underachieving.
Come on, man.
Because we talked all season about how the Ravens, they beat themselves.
Sure.
The most penalized team.
Yep.
We're looking at the questions about the utilization of Derrick Henry.
Yep.
This is a team that last year in the AFC title game forgot its complete identity. And then you start this year losing coaches. The defense looks disgusting a lot of the time. The 32nd ranked pass defense. So when you tell me they aren't underachieving, sort of like that, how the Ravens played against the Steelers, yes, it's a division rival. No one expected the Ravens to beat themselves that badly in that game.
So the Ravens have 4 losses. 2 of them are to 2 teams that we all believe are very good football teams
let's get
on
them.
the
Let's
final
get the
play of the
teams.
game. On the final play of the game.
Okay, let's go through them. What are the teams that
So
they've lost
they
to?
lost to the Chiefs week 1 on the end of the play.
Isaiah Likely on the...
With you on that, okay.
The Raiders had a remarkable comeback that...
The Raiders.
They don't...
Okay.
I'm not... But,
let's talk through them.
right,
The
so
Raiders.
that was a remarkable comeback. They
Okay.
lost last week again when they had 3 turnovers and Justin Tucker, one of the greatest kickers ever, misses 2 field goals. And then their other loss was that remarkable comeback by the Browns when they blitzed 6 times in a row and Kyle Hamilton drops the interception. So I'm talking to, and I'm not minimizing that they happened, but we're talking about the difference of 3 plays from being the 1 seed.
That's
and
literally
one loss.
That's literally what sports is. That's literally what football is.
Right, but that's not an underperform. We have empirical data that tells you Baltimore.
Dan, what makes you feel that this Ravens team right now is going to go the distance?
A historically great offense.
And win the big games. And we're talking AFC Championship and Super Bowl. What are they showing you right now that they're going to close it out in a similar way to the Kansas City Chiefs that's closing out close games? Why can I rely on that?
A historically great offense. And a guy that is very much so in the running for a 3rd MVP. Every one of these teams can get beat. The Chiefs have a left tackle issue. Yeah. Buffalo, if you line up with big people.
Can I help you? Because it's national television, and I love you too much to watch you continue to embarrass yourself.
I'm not.
I mean, listen to me.
I'm not tripping at all.
Let me tell you a little story. So, Dan Orlovsky, Daryl Morey, because you pride yourself in knowing how to play a little ball.
Philly.
Daryl Morey, former, GM president of basketball operations in Houston Rockets.
Yes, sir.
He departed from Houston and ultimately ended up in Philly. Tillman Fertitta wanted him gone. Somebody within that organization told me a story when they knew Daryl Morey's days were numbered. So the Houston Rockets win games similar to how the Baltimore Ravens are winning games. They're above 500.
fire me?
No. They're above 500. They're above 500. They're respectable enough, right?
He might have the power.
But come playoff time, they losing games.
Okay.
They ain't get the championship.
Okay.
And Tillman Fertitta is furious because he knows he's got a team to get it done. And after a loss, Daryl Morey would come up to him and look at this and with the analytics and showing how we really won. We really, really won. And he would lose his mind because he's relying on these numbers and how effective it is. And look at what we did here. Look at what the statistics show. He wouldn't hear that. What's the bottom line? They lost.
But that's not my job to tell someone, hey, this team won.
No. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Yes, it's your job to answer that damn question, though. And when we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens underachieving, there is no way that you look at that roster and you say they should be 7-4, a game and a half out of first place in the AFC North to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that a fact or not?
I disagree with that.
Really? So
yes.
So walking into this season, you expected the Baltimore Ravens, week 11 of the season, with Derrick Henry as their bell cow, with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. You expected the Baltimore Ravens to be a game and a half out of first place in the AFC North.
Yes.
Behind Russell Wilson?
I don't believe
No. I had picked the Bengals.
Well,
but I
yeah.
completely thought that the Ravens would take a step back this year.
That's different. Taking a step back from what they were last year is different than them being behind the Steelers right now.
But it's more about the Steelers exceeding expectations.
Both sides of your
No,
mouth.
I'm not.
You just said you predicted the Ravens to take a step back this year.
Correct. That was my
So
expectation.
did they take a step back? Because you've just been defending them this whole segment.
But that still makes them a very good football
They
team.
are a
Last
very
year,
good
they were the
football
best
team.
team in ball. And they
How
the
far
one
did they go in the
seed,
playoffs?
They lost in the AFC Championship because of I think the plan was poorly.
Yes.
Did I think they would take a step back from that team in comparison last year? Yes. Does it still mean they're a very good team?
Yes.
Yes.
They
Both
have
things could be true.
players on that team will
Dan,
tell
you need to wake
they
up
are
on the
We
wrong
did
side
not
of
say they
that
were a
more
bad
often.
team. We said
Coming up.
They are underachieving.
they're underachieving.
I disagree with that. I think they're a very good
Players
football
in that
team.
locker room, I'm telling you, will tell you
The
we should
defense
be better.
underachieving, maybe.
Okay. Could we let it go? Could we take a commercial break? Because I need a moment.